Hello, I'm Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to our program. Well, today we're going to have a lot we're going to talk about. It's Women in History Month. It's all stuff happening in the news about how wonderful abortion clinics are and how wonderful chemical abortion is, or they call it medical abortion, so it sounds like something good. Well, joining me today is a great expert on this topic and a dear friend of mine, Abby Johnson. Abby, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Janet.
So like I said, here we are. It's Women in History Month. And I actually get sick to my stomach when the abortion industry puts out a date to honor the Abortionist Day, right? And now you worked inside Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
And after coming out of that industry, you saw all the abuses, all the stuff. What can you say about like how that also makes you upset about honoring these abortionists, how they're not helping women?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's crazy, Janet, because when I worked there, I mean, I saw what was happening, but it's just, you justify it in your mind, you know, you make it okay in your mind. You want to pretend that you're not seeing what you're actually seeing. And then when I left, I just thought, oh my gosh, somehow I thought this was helping women. And you realize that the only way that you can truly help women is to help them not have an abortion and to flee these abortion facilities, right? Because they are so damaging, they are so detrimental to women. You know, the media has done a really great job of kind of dumbing down abortion. So they've done a really great job of normalizing abortion, making the American public believe that abortion is normal, that it is painless, that it is bloodless, and that it takes place in sterile abortion facilities.
Right.
And none of that is true, right? We know that abortion is not normal. It's the most abnormal thing a woman can do to her child.
Right.
We know that it's not painless. Abortion is incredibly painful, both physically and emotionally. We know that it is not bloodless. Right. It's the murder of an innocent human being. Right. It's incredibly bloody. And we know that it's not sterile. These abortions take place in some of the filthiest, most ragged, dirty facilities in this country. Most of them are not even inspected.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do you know there's more laws on books in a lot of states on care of animals in veterinary clinics than there are in abortion clinics?
Oh, Janet, every state in this country has laws on the books for tanning salons.
Right. Nail salons.
Right. Piercing studios, tattoos.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Every year, those places have to be
inspected. They're inspected.
That's right.
Abortion clinics, zero.
That's right.
So now when you worked inside Planned Parenthood, you said like you have to kind of turn off to what's going on, right? And you were there for how many years?
8 years.
8 years. Okay, so in the beginning, you're dealing with a lot of paperwork and stuff, you know, so you're not really watching what goes on in the procedure room, right?
That's right.
When did the switch begin to flip in your mind like, oh my God, this is what's really happening here? Like, what happened that flipped that switch?
So it was really that last year, Janet. So, you know, I had become the director.
Right.
And like you said, I've been dealing with really the patients and the paper, right? So
you weren't in on the blood and all that.
I was not in the room. I was not, you know, I was just dealing with patients. I was, you know, I really felt like I was helping them. Yeah. I was hearing their sad stories. Right.
I can't have a baby right now.
I can't have a baby. My boyfriend doesn't want, you know,
well, my
all
boyfriend
these sad
left
things.
me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to finish school, you know, all this stuff. And so I'm thinking, I really am helping.
Yeah, you're making a
women.
difference, you think.
And so you really have to disconnect the woman from her baby. And you're only thinking about the woman. That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Plus, by this point, I had had 2 abortions.
Right. Okay. So now.
Okay. So I am really trying to justify my own sin, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't want to have to process through what I've done to my own children.
Right.
So I'm kind of on this sinking ship, and I'm trying to drag everybody else on the
Come
boat
on.
with me.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. This is great, right?
Yeah,
We're all
look at
doing
me.
it.
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
No problem.
And so that last year, though, things, you know, I'm now like high up in the organization.
Right.
I'm in on all the meetings. I'm in committee meetings for the National Abortion Federation, for NARAL. I'm friends with the people who are working for the Warren Buffett Foundation,
Right, yeah.
who are handing us multi-million-dollar checks, right, for abortion services. I'm in all the secret meetings, right?
And you also hear how they're trying to teach you how you have a goal to meet.
That's right.
How many abortions is your clinic going to do? Like a timeline, a budget, right?
That's right. So we had this quota that we have to meet, and I'm being pushed, right? And they're telling me, Abby, we have a whiteboard in the staff meeting, and you're going to put up the number of abortions that you have to do every week, and you're going to update that every day, and you're going to write on the board, let's go team, only this many abortions to do for the rest of the week, right? And I'm supposed to be up, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we don't do this for birth control. We don't have a quota for the number of pap smears we have to do, or those cancer screenings, right?
Just how many abortions you're doing.
We just have a quota for abortions.
Wow.
And everything is just kind of hitting me. We were building, at the time, the largest abortion facility in the Western Hemisphere.
Right.
My affiliate was in Houston. I was going to have an office there, and I was going to be, helping to run this place, and we were going to be doing abortions through 6 months of pregnancy.
Ugh.
And I thought, oh my gosh.
And weren't they going to have like a dozen procedure rooms or something?
Oh
Some
my gosh,
ridiculous
so
number.
big. We were going to be doing 75 abortions a day, 6 days a week.
Oh my goodness.
That was the goal. That was
Yeah.
the quota. So many things were happening. Patient care was terrible. We were committing Medicaid fraud, knowingly committing Medicaid fraud.
Really?
Being encouraged to do that. I'm thinking, I could go to prison here. I mean, for the stuff that we're doing, it was terrible. And I think that, Janet, I think in our lives, there are so many times where God really presents us a fork in the road. And we can either choose sin or we can choose righteousness. And every time we choose sin, I think this hardness forms in our heart. There's
Right.
like a callus, right, that forms over our heart.
Right.
And I had chosen that path of sin so many times in that 8 years. And that callus around my heart was thick. But over that last year, I think there have been little cracks
In the
that
dam.
had started to break.
Yeah, the more they were pressuring you about sell, quotas and numbers. But then didn't something happen that you
Yes.
went from the paperwork to back
Yes.
where the procedure is and where they have to count the baby
Yeah.
parts?
I was asked to go in, and this was that moment, I think all those little cracks had started to form.
Right.
Where God was kind of showing me truth, right, through
Mm-hmm.
these little things. And then one day I was asked to go back and assist in an ultrasound guided abortion. Now look, ultrasounds are not used typically during the abortion procedure. We use the ultrasound to find out how far along they were.
So you used the right procedure to kill the baby.
Well, and so
Yeah.
we knew how much to charge them.
Yes, that's the other thing
That
too.
was the main thing.
Uh-huh.
So we knew how much to charge them. But then the ultrasound was rolled away. And the abortions are done blindly. The doctor just has that suction tube, he's just blindly poking around in the woman's uterus.
Oh my goodness.
That's why we see
Perforated uteruses.
uteruses, contents of, the baby left
inside, which causes
the woman's
sepsis
uterus.
and infection
Of course,
later.
women die
from
that.
it.
So I had never seen this type of abortion done. We had a visiting doctor. He wanted to show me what it looked like. He thought it would be a good learning experience for me. I go into the room. I'm doing the ultrasound. Again, I'm not a nurse. I shouldn't be doing ultrasounds on
Right.
people.
Yeah. No training on
No.
ultrasound.
The abortion industry, they don't care.
No.
They just set you loose. If you're a warm body, they'll set you loose to perform invasive procedures on women. They don't care. I'm doing the ultrasound. We do the measurement 13 weeks along. Everything's formed by 13 weeks, and you can see it crystal clear on the ultrasound.
Oh, you see the whole baby's there.
Absolutely. And I watched just in horror as the suction tube, I can see it going into the woman's womb, and I see this baby begin to just flail, his arms and legs trying to move away
Right.
from that suction instrument. And I'd never seen anything like that before. I believed that these babies were just, I don't know what I believed. I believed it wasn't life.
Yeah.
I believed that that the life that was there, if there was life there, it didn't matter. That it didn't matter. That
Well, you
only
also
the
had
woman
your other
mattered.
two. You had two abortions
I'd
at
had
that
two
point.
abortions.
So in your mind, you were pushing that out.
I had to believe it didn't matter.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, how do I have an
How do
abortion?
you put your head in the pillow at night? You know.
Yeah. How do I have an abortion?
So from that moment when you saw this baby being ripped apart, did that like say to yourself, "That's it, I'm getting out of here"? Or?
I was like, I can't participate in this anymore.
Ah, okay.
And but what was so silly, when I left, I was scared because I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? My husband's a teacher. He makes no money. I made a ton of money working at Planned Parenthood.
Right.
The business of killing is very lucrative. And I thought, I make a ton of money. What am I going to do? I need another job. And so I thought, you know what? I think I can change Planned Parenthood. That's what I thought.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
what I thought. I thought, I'm so high up now.
That I can make a difference.
I'm going to make a difference in Planned Parenthood. I'm going to change Planned Parenthood. So that happened on a Saturday. I went in Monday. I felt sick. I felt like physically, I thought I was going to throw up going into work.
After what you just saw.
Because I knew it was wrong. I knew I shouldn't be going back. But I went back and I was like, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this place. And we're not going to do abortions anymore. I'm going to change this place. I went in, every day I went in, I felt so sick. And I started just looking through everything that we were doing. I started looking through our protocols, everything. And I realized this is who we are. Everything we do is surrounded by abortion.
Right.
Even the birth control pills we hand out.
It's low dose.
We're doing it.
Right, so they get pregnant.
In the hopes that it's going to fail.
And they'll
come back and we'll provide an abortion.
Right.
Everything was shrouded in abortion.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting there. I'd been there a few days after the abortion. I remember sitting there and I was looking out my window and I saw this woman getting in her car and she was holding a little brown bag. And I had already committed. I will never be a part of an abortion again. I'd already said that. I'm gonna change this place. And in the meantime, I'm never gonna participate in an abortion again. And I did it that whole week. I had nothing to do with abortion, but I saw this woman walking out and I saw her and she was walking out with a little brown bag.
So you knew what was in that brown bag.
And I was like, there are abortion pills in that brown bag. And I said, everything that I'm doing here, my paycheck is coming from the blood of innocent babies. Sitting here in this building means I'm cooperating with abortion.
Yeah.
And I said, I have to leave. And it was then that I walked out.
Wow. Wow. Some journey. And of course, I know you connected with our ministry, Father Frank, and we've been on this journey together.
Yes.
But now I'd just like to switch the conversation just a little bit to, you said you had two abortions. I do believe, if I remember your story correctly, the first was a surgical.
That's right.
Yes. But the second was a chemical abortion. Of course,
That's
Planned
right.
Parenthood calls it a medical abortion.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to, when people think of medicine, why do we take medicine? If we're not feeling good or we have a health problem, it helps us.
That's right.
And so they're very nice trickery with the language.
That's right.
Medical abortion sounds it's good for women, but it's really chemicals they're taking that are always bad for the baby. It's going to kill the baby, but bad for them too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in your chemical abortion, can you just tell everybody, just bluntly, because people think this chemical abortion is no big deal. The women go home, they don't have a surgical abortion, they take care of this at home, zip, zip, and they're not pregnant anymore. It's wonderful. Can you just give us a window into a chemical abortion?
I thought I was dying. I was working at the clinic at the time. I had told people, this is natural. It's like having a period.
Right.
And so that's what I was told when I took the pills home. I took my first pill in the clinic, Mifeprex. I would like to say that I had some kind of hesitation when I took it, but I didn't. I took it, felt nothing, and I thought, okay, yeah, this is how it's going to be. It's going to be fine. Went home the next day. 24 hours later, I did what I told other women and what they told me to do. Inserted the pills. And what I thought was going to happen, what I told them was going to happen, is that a few hours later, I would begin to cramp and have some bleeding.
Yeah, like a little period. Yeah.
Immediately. I mean, within minutes of inserting the pills, I began to hemorrhage and have cramping and pain like I've never had before in my life. I could barely walk to the bathroom. I was in so much pain. There was blood everywhere. And I was sitting on the toilet. I finally made it to the toilet. And I was sweating. I was just sweating profusely. And this memory came to me. I don't know if you ever remember, I don't know if you remember this show. It was on TLC. It was called A Baby Story. And it's a long time ago. And I used to watch it in high school. And I loved that show because I loved watching these journeys of women, you know, and their babies, having their babies and everything. And I remember watching it. And I remember watching these women, they'd be delivering their babies and they'd be sweating.
Right.
In the delivery room.
Right.
And I remember wondering, like, why are these women always sweating when they're delivering, right? Like,
oh, yeah, you sweat.
Hot? Like, is it hot in there? Like, why are they always sweating? I remember that memory came to mind.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, they're not sweating because they're hot. They're sweating because of pain.
Right.
They're sweating because of the pain. And in that moment, I remember thinking, this must be what labor feels like. Like, I'm having labor pain. Like, I'm delivering this baby.
Right.
And it was just like all of this reality started like sinking in. Things that I had not been aware of, things I had not thought of.
Right.
Things that I'd never told anybody else that I'd given these pills to, right? And I was just hurting so bad. I thought, I'm going to get in the shower and maybe some warm water running over me would feel good. And I could barely stand. I was leaning on the shower and this warm water was running over me. And I felt just this debilitating, like make you double over kind of sharp pain. And then I felt this clot come out of me. And I didn't see it immediately, but I heard it hit the shower floor. And I knew that's my baby. And I didn't know what to do. I knew that it was too big to go down the drain. And so I knew I was going to have to deal with it. And I finally, my eyes were closed. I finally just opened my eyes and I reached down and I remember my hand was just shaking. And I was holding my baby and I was not prepared for that moment. No. And I didn't know what to do. And so I just dumped my baby in the toilet, and it took me a long time to finally convince myself to flush the toilet. Wow. Because I didn't want to.
No, yeah.
But I didn't know what else to do.
Right.
Because I was trying to convince myself this isn't a baby. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like I knew it. I knew that wasn't true.
But you were trying to still mask it over.
But I work at an abortion clinic.
Yeah. Like,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I can't, I was like, I can't have these feelings I'm feeling right now.
Right.
This doesn't make sense. Why am I feeling this?
Right.
You know? And I remember I was still bleeding so heavily. I was still really hemorrhaging. And I finally thought, okay, I'm going to get in the bathtub. So I drew a bath. And I was in the bathtub, and I guess I kind of just like passed out or dozed off or something. I don't know how long I was out, but I remember waking up, and the bathtub was just full of blood. Wow. And I remember thinking, and there was blood everywhere. I mean, it was all over the floor. It was on the side of the tub, it was toilet, everywhere.
Place, yeah.
And I remember thinking, it looks like I'm in the middle of a crime scene. And then I thought, I am.
Yeah.
This is a crime scene.
Yeah.
I crawled out of the tub I grabbed a towel. I was so hot from just the pain, being in pain. And I just laid on the bathroom floor with my face on the tile. And that cold tile felt so good on my body. And I was still bleeding everywhere. And I just thought, this is where I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die right here. And I just kept praying. I guess I finally went to sleep, passed out or something. And I kept thinking, I hope my parents don't find me. I hope my parents don't find me dead on the floor. I hope it's someone else. Yeah. And the thing I really don't ever share, but what happened, my husband, Doug, Doug, was a very close friend of mine at the time. And I had found out I was pregnant with my ex-husband, who was my current husband at the time. We were separated at the time, and I'd found out I was pregnant with his child, and that was one of the reasons I got an abortion. Right. I didn't want to be connected to him in any way.
Any longer, right.
And so when I told Doug, who was my friend, that I was pregnant, he had really encouraged me not to have an abortion. He was pro-life, and he was like, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think it's right. You shouldn't do this. But I did it anyway. And so when I had the pills, he said, well, you shouldn't be alone. You shouldn't be alone having this abortion. You should be with somebody. And so he said, when you do it, you should come to my house and do it so that you're not alone in your apartment. And so I did, and he was actually gone. He had gone to work. And so when he came back home, I was kind of up and whatever, but I had not cleaned the bathroom.
Oh boy.
Yet. And I said, don't go in the bathroom. I have to clean up the bathroom. But I was so sick and so pale and had lost so much blood. I really should have gone to the hospital.
Right.
But I was too ashamed. I mean, I didn't want to go to the hospital. And he said, no, just lay down, go to sleep, whatever. And Janet, he went into that bathroom. Wow. And he cleaned that up. And he's now my husband.
Right.
And it wasn't his baby. He wasn't a part of it, right?
Right. He was just a friend, yeah.
But he still has hurt because of that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so abortion hurts so many people.
Right.
And he was just trying to be a good friend to me that day. Mm-hmm. But he cleaned up the aftermath of the murder of my child. And, you know, that's not normal. No. It's not a normal thing to do.
No.
And even today, like when I talk about my abortion, I mean, when I talk about my chemical abortion, I mean, it's still very raw for him.
Yeah.
Because he saw the blood.
He remembers it. Yeah.
He remembers.
He gets the flashback then.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's him. You know, it's not even me. Because I didn't clean that up. I lived through that pain, but it was him in there wiping up that blood, cleaning up that blood.
Yeah. And so, you know, Abby, your story is horrible. It's sad. It's heart-wrenching. But you're not alone.
No.
You and I know between all our ministries, we're hearing these stories like a drumbeat every single day. And just like yours, some even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Some
women do die.
Yeah, some women do die. I've had some women say that the bleeding would go on for a month or two, or a couple of days later they would call the Planned Parenthood and they would tell them, go to the emergency room, but don't tell them
you had an abortion.
You had the medical abortion. Say you're having a miscarriage. Yeah, so they tell them to lie, and they finding out that parts of the babies are still inside of them, because that's the other thing too. They're using the pill off-label, meaning it's only supposed to be used, I think, about the 9 weeks.
Yeah.
And some of these abortion clinics are using it 10, 11, some to 12 weeks and more.
So I mean, some are using 18 weeks.
Yeah.
Because now they're not requiring an ultrasound ahead of time.
No.
You know, they're not, women are getting it in the mail.
Yeah.
So they haven't even had an ultrasound. They don't know. They don't know anything about these women.
Right.
They're not being seen by doctors. They're not being evaluated. They're not having ultrasounds. I went online, Janet, to one of these websites. I put in my name, but I put in a fake date of birth to make me 16 years old.
And you could get the pills.
And I could get the pill.
Right. So now,
at 16 years old.
yeah, so parents beware, your high school daughters can be getting a chemical abortion without you even knowing.
Absolutely they can. And,
And-
they'll
and-
mail it anywhere. They don't verify ID.
Right.
They don't verify anything. I mean,
No.
this is when, you know, we've been saying this for years, that the abortion industry is a safe haven for abusers,
That's right.
right? We've said it over and over again. This is your proof.
Yeah.
They are a safe haven for sex traffickers, for that soccer coach that's abusing that 13-year-old girl.
Yes,
right?
right.
Abortion is the thing that protects traffickers.
Yes.
Abortion protects abusers. You know what brings abuse to light? Birth. I mean, almost always. If you want to catch someone who is abusing a girl, almost every time the way to catch it is for that woman to give birth.
Right.
I mean, there was
Because in the abortion clinic, not only do they not report sexual activity of a minor, they tell them to lie about it.
yes.
Because we have testimonies of women that were told they'll borrow someone else's driver's license. And I even have a story where the girl who was getting the abortion was a teen of like 14. She borrowed her 19-year-old cousin's driver's license, but that kid had dark brown hair. She was blonde. And did they do anything? Not a word.
No, we had a woman in recovery one time, and I don't know, I think she was 18 or 19. And we said, I asked her a question. I was actually the one back there. I asked her a question. I said, well, how did you do after your last abortion?
Right.
And she said, I've never had an abortion. And I said, yeah, well, yes, you have. You had it on this date, you know? And she goes, no, I haven't. So after some conversation, we realized that her sister had brought in her birth certificate, which is all that's required, because a birth certificate is a legal government ID. It doesn't have to have a picture on it.
Ah.
She brought in her sister's ID. Her sister, at the time, she said, was 15 years old, but brought in her sister's birth certificate, which would have made her 18 at the time.
Wow.
And she said, no, my sister was 15, I guess, when she had this done. But used her, who knows what was happening to that 15-year-old girl?
Yeah.
She could have been a victim of abuse, but we didn't know, and we certainly weren't asking any questions.
Right. So here we are. It's the month of March. They're going to celebrate those abortion providers on that day. But also later this month, there's going to be a case in the Supreme Court where they're going to hear the oral arguments about taking these medical abortion pills off the market.
Yes.
Right, because of the damage. Well, our side is going to show that the damage to women is there, but also too, it's because these medications got a fast track and did not follow the normal protocols for FDA approval, et cetera, et cetera. So I want our people to understand that you're going to hear about this in the news. We've given them a lot of information, and they can go to our simple webpage, abortiontestimony.com, read more stories, and you have more stories too, don't you?
We do. So we recently came out with a campaign called Little Pills That Kill. And we, you know, I tell people all the time, I mean, with our ministry, and then there were none, we're just sitting on this really a treasure trove of stories and information and firsthand experiences of women and men who have worked in the abortion industry, who have seen the exploitation taking place, who have seen the carnage taking place.
Seen all the laws they're breaking.
They've seen it. And these people are willing to expose it. And so we said, you know what, let's expose it specifically on this chemical abortion issue, because we knew this was going to be coming up in the Supreme Court. And so we did a bunch of videos, a bunch of their testimonies. Now we know about 70% of abortion clinic workers are people who've actually had abortions themselves.
Right.
And so a lot of the stories that you hear on this website are, stories, yes, about things that they lied to these patients about, things that they told the patients were going to happen, stories that they saw, retained products of the baby, retained tissue, women being harmed, women almost dying, becoming septic, the payouts, the hush money that we used to give to women who would almost die in the hospital from an infection, but we would write them a check for like $1,000, some paltry sum of money, and then force them to sign a non-disclosure agreement so that they would never come forward with their story. These are poor women, mostly minority women, so they'll take whatever money you give them.
$1,000 is like a fortune.
And so they'll take the money and shut up. When really they could have gotten millions of dollars, but they don't know.
Yeah,
And so
what's
all
the website?
of this stuff is coming out, and then they also share their own abortion experiences as well. So it's a lot of information on there, and also really good graphics that people can take and use on their own pages too. So
on their social media,
absolutely.
get the word out.
So littlepillsthatkill.com.
Littlepillsthatkill.com.
Yes.
Listen, I hope everyone goes there and spreads this information. Well, Abby, my dear friend, thank you. I know this was a difficult conversation, but thank you for being so brutally honest, because I am sure some women will now be forewarned. They will, hopefully, because of your story, won't have a medical abortion, and they'll go to the thousands of pregnancy help centers to get real help. So God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
Well, brothers and sisters, I understand this discussion today was difficult but needed, because the lies are out there, but you can spread the truth. Remember, go to Abby's website and read the stories and spread them far and wide, because remember, brothers and sisters, there's some abortions only you're going to be able to stop, and therefore some lives only you can save. Join us again next time. Thank you, and God bless.